Hello, everybody, and welcome to our latest episode of Bearded Things. I'm one of your bearded hosts. My name is Chris. I'm here with my buddy Tyler. Tyler, how you doing this evening?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. There's a lot happening right now. Halloween just passed, and
Yeah.
I hope you checked out our Halloween episode.
Yeah, please. We put a lot of hard work into it. So I hope you enjoyed it and you watched it or listened to it.
It was a lot of fun. My mom said it was number one and gave me a star. So I'm very,
Oh, that's nice.
yeah, I'm just kidding, Mom. I don't think my mom listens to this, but she would if she did.
My mom said I'm cool.
The coolest guy on the podcast.
Yeah. She didn't actually said that. I don't think she listens.
Yeah.
And I don't think she would say that even if she did listen.
So today is when we release this will be Tuesday, and I feel like I'm forgetting to do something.
Yeah, were we supposed to fill something out or drop something off or
I think there was something with the mail or
something. We're supposed to cast something. Were we supposed to go fishing? Huh.
Weird.
I don't know. Whatever. It'll come to us.
So today is election day. We
Yes.
really hope you went out and voted if you can. Not everybody can because of different stipulations and depending on where you are. But we hope if you were able to, that you exercised your right and you voted. It's a pretty big one.
Yes, definitely. And this is for our U.S. listeners, those that are outside the U.S. We hope you didn't vote in our election. That would be really weird.
It'd be really, really bad.
Yeah.
It's a nice sentiment, but it would kind of
Yeah.
make things not good.
Appreciate the thought, but we kind of ran into that situation before. We don't want that to happen again. So you can support us from afar.
And so I don't know who the winner is. I feel like when you're watching, the World Series and then you turn on like a Tonight Show, the game isn't over yet. So they're just kind of like,
Exactly.
the game is a thing.
Yeah. They're in extra innings. Oh my God.
This is exciting. We get to watch America do what Americans do, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, without, regardless what side you fall on, left, right, middle, with the whole politics thing, like this is what makes America so great, allegedly, is that we are a democracy, and every 4 years we come together and vote and elect a new leader. It's not a certain person that takes over just because of their family or a dictatorship and they just refuse to give power. Hopefully that doesn't happen. So it's one of the cool things that I've always appreciated. I've always done. It's choosing to vote and exercise that right that not everyone in the world has, that we have a right to choose our leaders, allegedly. So it's cool. So it's one of those things that I hope whoever you guys out there listening, you did your best and encourage those around you to vote. Again, regardless of who you vote for, doesn't really matter to me as long as you go out there and vote. Exercise that right, because there's a lot of people in the world that cannot do that. So we're pretty lucky, even given our current situation. We're still lucky that we get the opportunity to vote.
Yeah, and full disclosure and just being, open and honest with everyone here, this is the first year I voted for president ever in my life.
Yeah, I'm so proud of you. I don't want to put you on blast on social media. You posted something when you voted. I'm gonna be like, wow, first time, huh?
Yeah, it really was. I had no idea what I was doing. So we'll see how that worked out. But
no, yeah, that was super awesome though. I forgot to tell you, I was actually super proud of you that you did that. That's awesome.
Oh man, thank you so much. Yeah, it felt really good to do it. I get to exercise my rights and let my voice be heard. Even if it doesn't amount to much, I did my part, and that felt really good to do. So
yeah,
highly encourage everyone, and you get a cool sticker. So
that's true. You get a sticker. You get to tell everyone on social media that you did something. It's awesome.
And then trolls find you, and then they leave you hate mail, and it's worth it. It's totally worth it.
Yes. Oh God, I really hope. Oh, never mind. But I hope we don't get hate mail at the end of this episode on Tuesday. We'll see what happens.
I'm sure we will, but
our previous male friend, we'll see if they send in good or bad.
And we're not endorsing either candidate. We don't want to influence the way, if you're able to vote, how you should vote. We just want you to do it regardless. So
exactly.
If they send hate mail, you know what? That's the hatred in their heart, because we just want you to do your civic duties.
Exactly. We spread peace and love.
Yeah. So now that we got that giant donkey elephant in the room addressed,
yeah, we'll step off our soapbox and get into what we actually came here for, what we're supposed to be doing. So what are you covering tonight, Chris?
Tonight, I am covering the Kentucky Goblin, also known as the Kelly Hopkinsville Encounter.
I am covering Dia de los Muertos.
Awesome. That's a very, very cool one, especially in a Latin-based area like where we
Exactly.
are. So
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
all right, cool. I think that's all the business. Oh, I will throw one more thing out there. If you are listening on a platform that allows you to leave comments or ratings, we would really appreciate a 5-star rating. Looking at you listening on your iTunes and Apple devices, you don't have to, but it does help us out a lot. It really does go a long way.
And I just want to throw out there that I hate the Seattle Seahawks because they beat the 49ers tonight. Suck it, Russell Wilson.
Yeah, that didn't work out for you too well.
Yeah, whatever.
Raiders won.
Yeah, I mean, if you call beating the Browns a win, but okay.
Listen, the Los Angeles Oakland Raiders of Las Vegas did their best and it paid off.
That's true. They beat the JV team of the NFL. Congratulations.
I hear loser talk. That's all I'm saying.
I'm just bitter. But I am happy. As we're recording this, I'm watching the worst. Well, I don't know. The Jets are pretty bad, but one of the worst teams in the NFL right now playing with the Dallas Cowboys because they are just terrible this year, and they're getting beat by the Philadelphia Eagles 21-9. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that's pretty good, but pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, and I mean the NFC East is like the worst
It's
division
really bad
in football. So it's.
I was reading a satire review of sports right now. They were like, do we really need the NFC East? Is that still necessary?
Yeah, just take two teams from the NFC West and you don't need an NFC winner. Like you're going to have someone that theoretically can win 5 games this year and make it as a play and host a division game, like host a playoff game as a division winner.
It's so
it
weird.
Makes no sense to me.
Yeah, all of sports is just really weird. Like baseball just seemed off. It was exciting to watch the LA Dodgers win the World Series, but it didn't. Something felt off about it. Same thing with the LA Lakers winning.
Exactly.
It just, I don't know. Maybe it's just the way the seasons are kind of just messed up. I don't know. It just felt weird.
Yeah, it's just everything's thrown for a loop. It just all the shortened seasons and NBA had that huge delay, so I don't know. Well,
it's weird. This 2020 is weird.
Exactly. Let's just get it over with. I won't tell my dad joke about 2021 this time.
Oh, please don't. and then just 2020, right? Not only is 2020 probably the worst year ever recorded in the universe, but it's also an extended hour.
Oh yeah, daylight saving time just changed.
Yeah, fall back. So we have one more hour of 2020 because it just wasn't enough before.
Which is weird. Yeah, I woke up at like 7:30, 8 o'clock this morning. I'm like, man, it seems like really late in the morning. And I looked at my phone and it was like 7:30. I'm like, oh, well, look at that. I thought it was 10 o'clock and it's 7:30.
Yeah, I experienced time travel last night writing my story for today. It was about 1:45 in the morning and I'm typing and I'm like, oh, this is really good. I'm feeling the flow. And then I look back at my clock and it was 1:15 in the morning. I'm like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, I remember when I used to work overnights and watching the clock go from 1:59 to 1 o'clock was always really disheartening. It was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
But we get paid an extra hour, so that was nice.
Give me my money, man.
Yeah. Oh, also, hopefully, while you're listening to this, we're all still alive because there's supposed to be an asteroid that passes by the Earth relatively close on November 2nd. So on Monday, yesterday, if you're listening to this, there's an asteroid that's supposed to pass by the Earth. So hopefully you're around to hear this.
Of course there is.
Yeah, why not?
It's 2020. I'm not even surprised anymore. Like, whatever.
Don't tempt 2020.
I feel like Lieutenant Dan in Forrest Gump when he's on top of like the ship and he's just screaming into the storm. Like, I feel like that.
Come and get me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
All right, so this has been our side tangent.
We got it out of the way early tonight.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're talking about someone from The Office tonight, right?
Yes, Kelly Kapoor, apparently. I am covering the Kentucky Goblin or the Kelly Hopkinsville Encounter.
Perfect.
Now, I think the best way to preface this story is to really channel my Rod Serling. So this is going to be a horrible Twilight Zone knockoff. I apologize to everyone who loves Twilight Zone in advance. Hopkinsville, Kentucky. Summer. A tree-lined little world of front porches, farmland, the laughter of children, and the lowly sound of a harmonica playing at sunset. It was August 21st, 1955, and Elmer Sutton, Billy Ray Taylor, and their families would be stepping into the space or area dedicated to the time just before sunrise because we legally can't call it the Twilight Zone.
Nice.
When someone mentions an alien, our minds immediately kind of jump to little green men with large black eyes. Most of those descriptions can be traced back to one single event, the Kelly Hopkinsville encounter. The legend began, as I was saying, on August 21st, 1955 in Hopkinsville. The very large Sutton family, Elmer and Billy Ray Taylor, their wives, cousins, and children, stormed their local police station. It was close to 11 p.m. By all accounts, they were completely terrified and the women were hysterical. The children were screaming and grabbing onto their parents. There was 12 of them total, all exhausted and all were looking for help. More importantly, they were looking for safety. The sheriff would go on the record to say, these aren't the kind of people who normally run into the police for help. Police Chief Russell Greenwell later told investigators, what they do is they reach for their guns. Yet here they were, women and children hysterical, and one man with a pulse over 140 beats per minute measured by an investigator.
Holy shit.
The family was truly a backwoods family, and I don't mean that as an insult. They all lived in a 3-bedroom house, no TV, no radio, no books, no running water. The sheriff would go on to note their house was never even painted, which I think kind of adds credibility to their story. They didn't have outside influence for them to make this up, and without a TV or radio or cell phones in 1955, they didn't have the incentive to get their 15 minutes of fame. If they were on TV or the radio, there was no way for them to even see it or hear it. So what happened? I tried to paraphrase what happened to the best of my ability, and it wasn't working because there was so much that happened. So this is an excerpt from the original report. According to the accounts given to the police, at about 7 p.m. on the hot Sunday evening, Sutton family friend Billy Ray Taylor was fetching water from the backyard well when he saw a silvery object, quote, real bright with an exhaust all the colors of the rainbow, as he later recounted. It came silently towards the house, passed over it, stopped in the air, and then dropped straight to the ground. Taylor, 21, and his 18-year-old wife had come from Pennsylvania to visit Lucky Sutton, with whom he'd worked in a traveling carnival. The Suttons, 50-year-old widow and matriarch Glennie Lankford, because, of course,
Yeah.
her 2 older sons and their wives, a brother-in-law, and the widow's 3 younger children, 12, 10, and 7, didn't take Billy Ray seriously, and they were just kind of laughing off his UFO account. An hour later, alerted by the dog's incessant barking, Lucky and Billy Ray went to the back door and made out a strange glow in the midst with which they spied a small humanoid creature about 3.5 feet tall. It had an, quote, oversized head, almost perfectly round. Its arms extended almost to the ground. Its hands had talons, and its oversized eyes glowed with the yellowish moonlight. The body gave off an eerie shimmer in the light of the night's new moon. They said it's as if it was made of a silver or metal. Terrified, the 2 men grabbed a 20-gauge shotgun and a .22 rifle and fired at the little man. Its hands now raised as if it held up at gunpoint as it came toward the back door. They reported that it then did a flip, scrambled upright, and fled back into the darkness. Shortly after, the men saw a similar creature appear in a side window and fired through the window screen. Still impervious to bullets, the little man again flipped and then disappeared. This is a quote, I went out in the hallway and crouched down next to Billy when I saw one approaching the door, Mrs. Lankford told Isabel Davis, author of an extensive report called Close Encounter at Kelly and Others of 1955. It looked like a 5-gallon gasoline can with a head on top and small legs. It was shimmering bright like metal on my refrigerator. The drama escalated when Taylor stepped outside under the small overhanging roof, and those behind him saw a claw-like hand reach down and touch his hair.
Ooh.
The group screamed to pull Taylor back while Lucky shot above the overhang, and then another similar creature in a nearby tree. It floated to the ground and then scurried into the woods. The Suttons moved inside and spent several hours listening for movements, hearing mostly occasional scratches on the roof. At 11 p.m., the whole group ran for their cars and hightailed it to the Hopkinsville police station at top speed. After the local police chief called for backup, his team was joined at the Sutton farm by state police, military police from nearby Fort Campbell, and a photographer from the Kentucky New Era. There, investigators found shell casings from the gunshots, but no other evidence. Neither could they find proof of heavy drinking, which you might think moonshine, just that kind of a setup. But according to the Sutton matriarch, liquor was not allowed in the farmhouse. Once the police and others left, though, the creatures returned between 2:30 a.m. and daybreak. Mrs. Langford said she saw one glowing repeatedly by her bedside window, its claw-like hand on the screen, which is not okay.
No,
Not okay at all. While the incident eventually attracted the attention of the Air Force U investigation program called Project Blue Book, which is a whole crazy thing, which we will get into at some point, I'm sure. Documents suggest that its team never officially pursued the matter beyond checking in with their Fort Campbell counterparts who had been briefly at the scene the first night. In 1956, ufologist Isabel Davis picked up the investigation, which was published several decades later by the Center for UFO Studies, a group founded by astronomer Dr. J. Allen Hynek, Project Blue Book's civilian investigator. So there's some credibility to this report. The 200-page report concluded, quote, none of the possible explanations, a deliberate hoax, a publicity play, group hallucinations, made sense. While questions arose about whether the young men were exaggerating, possibly fueled by hidden stores of liquor, Davis's strong impression after meeting Mrs. Langford was one of a somber, no-nonsense matriarch who abhorred the limelight and had no reason to lie. None of the witnesses, Davis noted, had any history of making preposterous allegations. In 2006, Joe Nickel, senior research fellow of the International Committee for Skeptical Inquiry and a self-proclaimed paranormal investigator, reviewed the evidence. He brushed off the UFO sighting to a meteor, which there is little evidence of. As for the little green men, he suggested it was just a misidentification of owls, particularly the great horned owl. Now, I have a few problems with the owl theory. This family was very familiar with their land. They would have seen these owls before when they're nesting, in the springtime when they're mating and, circle of life is happening all around them. So we'll put a side-by-side picture on the socials of the official police sketch and a horned owl. They're not very similar. Let me just say that. Also, if they were in a 4-hour shootout with these owls, they would have found at least one body, a blood trail, a freaking dead owl, anything.
Yeah, a feather.
And I understand. Okay, let's just be skeptical and say that they were very, very drunk. All 12 people, including the children, were drunk. Okay,
that's some good moonshine.
So it's a bit of a stretch, and I don't want to defame them or anything, but I'm just playing devil's advocate here. So all 12 were completely hammered, and they start shooting at owls, right? Even if you're too drunk to hit one, you're going to skin something. There's going to be blood, especially if you have a shotgun.
Yeah, I was like, if one of them's got a shotgun, that's going to spread. Like, you're going to hit something.
You're going to hit something. So the fact that nothing was hit is just really bizarre.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Was it aliens? Owls? Personally, I just can't buy into the owl theory. Maybe the meteor, just definitely not the owls. What was it? I don't know. The truth is out there, and I want to believe. And I just wish there was more information on this incident. It's one of the most credible alien interactions that we have on record with 12 people. They were not under the influence of anything. And it's just very odd to be in a shootout with no evidence of what you're hitting.
Yeah, that's strange. Also, good reflexes by the aliens, if that's what the case was.
Yeah, and then how disturbing is that to shoot something, watch it flip backwards, and then scurry off? That's so that bothers me a lot.
Yeah, that image is kind of terrifying,
especially with the big eyes. And then when you see the pictures, imagine that thing peeking in your window while you're trying to sleep at 2:30 in the morning.
Right, or trying to reach down and grab the guy's head.
Right.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. No, because that's what owls do. It's pretty good behavior for owls just to reach across creepily and try to grab your head.
Absolutely, yeah. So with I read a little bit of Nichols' report for the Skeptical Inquiry Committee. And he was saying that type of owl can be very aggressive. So it sounds like they had a family of aggressive full-sized owls that were attacking a house.
I mean, maybe they really wanted the house to be painted. They were part of the HOA, and they weren't keeping the weed abatement properly.
The only thing that I can come up with was that one of the children was the chosen wizard, and they were throwing his letters for the invite to Hogwarts in the trash.
That's true. If there was, you said there was like what, 12, 10, and 9. If there's a 10-year-old, they're almost 11. They're eligible to be Harry Potter or Hogwarts students.
Absolutely. So was it Hogwarts? Was it aliens?
That Dumbledore.
So yeah, that is my story of the Kentucky Goblin as it became known.
That's awesome. Well done. So now before we get into Banter with the Beardsleys and my topic, we will take a quick commercial break. And welcome back. We're still here. Still don't have any results of the election. Sorry about that. And now we're going to get into Banter with the Beardsleys.
So Tyler, what is Banter with the Beardsleys?
I was enjoying the chiming. Banter with the Beardsleys is our fun, unscripted, kind of off the cuff section of the podcast where we kind of break it up. Sometimes our topics tend to be a little serious. And so we want to break this up, have a little bit of fun, have a conversation. And it's something that the listener, which is you guys, submits to us, and we throw them in a hat, and then we pull one of the topics out of the hat, and we kind of give our take on it. It could be something from paranormal, spooky question you have, a life question you have, something that if you just want our opinion on, totally shoot it our way, and we will talk about it on the air.
Yeah. So I understand tonight we have one from one of our bearded friends.
Yes, we do, from our bearded friend, Corey.
Woo.
And she asks, what is your favorite ride or thing to do at Disneyland? Which is a good one because I love Disneyland.
I do too. We used to be pass holders when that was a thing. Like you were as well.
Yeah. I went. Yeah.
And it was fun. We're fortunate enough to be a drivable distance to the park.
Yeah, definitely.
And so yeah, my favorite ride and thing to do. Oh man. Okay. Well. It depends. So generally I like to get there for what's called rope drop. I'm just going to walk you through my Disney day, if that's cool, if you guys don't mind. So I like to get there at rope drop, which is right before the park opens. So you get there super, super early. There's really not a lot of people there yet. And then you can get into Main Street, and then you get to right to the entrances of all the lands. And they have these velvet ropes blocking it off. And then they do this big celebration thing right when the park opens. They drop the ropes, and then you go nuts and get in line for your rides or what have you. So what I like to do is I like to go to Main Street while all that is happening, get some breakfast at, I believe it's what's it, Daisy Bell's Cafe or something like that? Lulu Bell's Cafe.
Lulu Bell's Cafe, yeah.
That's like my spot for breakfast. It's really affordable, surprisingly like on par with like a Denny's breakfast.
Nice.
So that's really nice. And then I make my way over to, if it's that early, I'll go on Star Tours.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point I have to go on the Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean, and then just kind of walk around and chill for a little bit. And then there's a little secret cove that I'm going to fill all of you in that I require everybody who knows me, I require them to go here. So if you're going to Disneyland, California, and you're walking towards the Haunted Mansion, on your right-hand side, you're going to see the lagoon, Rivers of America is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
Right where the Rivers of America and the Haunted Mansion kind of meet, there's a little lobster roll nook. If you walk behind it for like seating, there's a wall there, and all over the park there's these fake businesses. This particular one says Christopher Alton's Bait and Tackle. That was shown to me by my buddy and listener Chris. Thank you so much for pointing that out to me, Chris. I own that wall now. I don't actually, but I like to tell myself that I own that wall now. And so yeah, I make all my friends go there and take pictures because I think it's really cool. So we go do that, and then I'll jump over to Disney's California Adventure. We go on the Cars Racer ride thing, soaring over the world. And then I like to go down for lunch to one of the little food carts they have in Disney California Adventure because they have the best chimichanga I've ever had. And yeah, that's kind of like, those are all my must do's. And then everything beyond that just kind of open for the moment, being in the spirit of Disney.
Whatever's not an hour-long wait.
Well, if you have, so I had like one of the top passes, not flexing at all, but there was a reason for that.
Humble brag.
Humble brag. I got one of the top ones because then you have like fast pass for everything.
Yeah, the max pass or whatever it's called.
Yeah, so that made the wait's like a lot easier. So then you just had to like kill time until it was your time to go on whatever ride you're waiting for.
Nice. That's awesome.
I will say the oh man, it's Rise of the Resistance. Is that the new Star Wars?
Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah, the new ride.
The land. Oh, the new. I haven't. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
The new Star Wars like ride thing. I got to go on that. It's phenomenal. So if the parks if and when the parks open back up, make it a point to trek out to Disneyland, California. Get on that ride. It is mind blowing. I will say that.
Nice.
And yeah, we all went to the opening week with the Millennium Falcon ride together.
Yeah, I was like, we were I went with you guys when we went to the that was the
Smuggler's
Galaxy's
Run.
Edge. Yeah, Smuggler's Run and all that stuff. Yeah, because I had the T-shirt from that.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, the Rise of the Resistance wasn't out until like recently, and I don't think I got a chance to go after it opened.
I did, and it was great. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's good. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's a very intense, insane, very well detailed ride. So that's,
yeah,
I think for the most part, that's and then in Galaxy's Edge, Hangar Bay 7 has a really good chicken strips and mashed potatoes with a curry gravy.
Yeah,
which
I remember we got that when we were there. Yeah, which now, did you know that in that little cantina thing, the spork spoon metal things, they sell those now because people were stealing them.
I wonder who would steal them.
I have no idea, and they definitely didn't post it to their Instagram. I don't think
they would never post them to their Instagram.
Of course not. That would be illegal. Why would they do that? Actually, go back and double check to make sure.
I know I'm going to delete mine as well.
Now that we're putting ourselves on blast.
So yeah, they released these when the land first opened, and you went to Hangar Bay 7. They had these spork type things made out of like this really thick aluminum. It's like a super high quality, like survival spork, essentially. And it would be great to own one if one were to find one to own.
Yes.
Is all I'm saying.
Yes.
Don't look at my kitchen drawer.
Yeah. It's like, I don't have it sitting on a mantle in my room.
We don't use ours regularly.
Right. Yeah. I don't use the eat. It's a display piece. Disney, if you come try to sue us, I will fight you for it.
And yeah, this is all hypothetical and you can't prove it.
Exactly. Yeah. It was my birthday. Okay. So yeah, I am not, well, because you live like super close to Disneyland. I still have to drive a couple hours to get to Disneyland. So I've never made it for the rope drop. Even though I've like stayed in a hotel nearby and still just didn't make it the next morning, which neither here nor there. But so I've never done the rope drop thing. We did eat, what is it, the Carnation Cafe or
Carnation Cafe? That's what it is.
Yeah. Well, because there's that one, and then there's I thought you were talking about like the big white restaurant.
Lulu Bells is I think it's the ice cream thing. Some Disney nerd is listening to this and they're like they're dying. Raging. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Look, I can walk there. I don't know the names. I just know where I walk and I eat, and it's great.
Yeah, I know, because there's the big restaurant where it's like you pay. It's like, I don't know, like $20 a person, and it's like a big buffet, and you just basically walk around and you get your food. And that's the one that has characters do like the sit and they walk around at breakfast and all that stuff in the morning. I've done that, but I haven't do the rope drop. So whatever. But like favorite rides, things to do at Disneyland, like you, Haunted Mansion is on my list of it's probably my favorite ride at Disneyland is Haunted Mansion. Between Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean, and then Space Mountain, or whatever the hell it's called now, Hyperspace Mountain, when they added all the extra Star Wars stuff. So those are the things that I want to hit every time I go there. I try to see how many times I can go on Haunted Mansion, because especially like in the early morning, evening, it's like a 20-minute wait, so you just walk right through and just get in there, and it's just fun to sit there and like be a super huge nerd and recite the opening lines when you're sitting in the elevator and the guide hangs from the ceiling.
Course, there's always my way.
Yeah. And then everyone does like the really fake like screams when it goes dark. It makes me happy. Well, at least that's what I do. I do the really exaggerated like so those are those things. And then I kind of, like you, I just kind of wander around and try to find things that have short lines. I really like the riverboat cruise, or whatever it's called, the Jungle Cruise, I think.
Oh, the Jungle Cruise, yeah.
Yeah, those are pretty fun, just because I don't go on it every time I've gone there. So it's like I kind of forget some of the jokes. Like I know all the jokes are the same, but it's like you'll get the
now the backside of water.
Exactly. And you get like all the you get every now and then you get a good cruise captain, whatever you want to call them, and they're really energetic and like really charismatic, and it's really cool. So I enjoy that.
I love how like bitter they are, like so
Yeah,
sassy.
yeah,
I heard one of my
yeah,
favorite jokes of all time on the cruise, and I stole it. You want to hear it?
yeah. Of course.
And we just docked. We're getting ready to get off the ride, and he goes on the mic, and he's like, "And here's a joke for all you psychics." It made me very
Yeah,
happy.
those are good. Yeah. And then I I can't eat a lot of the stuff in Disneyland anymore, but they have. I'm convinced they have the greatest pickles known to man.
That's absolutely
And
accurate.
I try to get as many pickles as I can while I'm there, which is kind of weird because sometimes pickles make me like have to go to the bathroom really bad. So it's a risk reward type thing. But I think last time I was there, I got 7 pickles in a day. So that's I try to eat as many pickles as I can. They also have really good churros there. And for California Adventure, I like the cruising or flying the world, flying the USA, whatever it is. I know it was like soaring over California at one point.
Yeah,
That's
soaring
like
over
season.
California. Now it's soaring over the world.
Yeah, so it's like it's kind of seasonal. So that's kind of cool. I like the soaring over the world because I just like the olfactory senses that they use for that. Like when you go like where you're flying through different parts of the world, you can smell the different things, and like that's just really cool. And then I like the little like nature walk thing where you kind of it's like the kid zone sort of thing, but you just basically walk around in like the woods, which is just cool. And then they have really good elote at one of the food carts, and I really like that too. But I think that's it. I don't do like I mean, when it gets dark or like when the kids go home, like we'll like go and do like the Disney, like the princess rides and stuff like that, like the Pinocchios and the Snow White and all that stuff, just because it's fun to sit down for a little bit.
Oh,
And
totally.
I know a lot of people that like love the Peter Pan ride, but I'm not a fan. I don't. It's not as cool. Like, I mean, it's basically like Haunted Mansion for kids, but like I don't know. Like, it's cool to be like the replicas they do of like flying around. And, like, same thing with like the boat. There's a boat ride, not Small World, but there's another one where you take the boat around. It's like the little replicas of all the princess worlds, and like that's just cool. Like the detail that goes into. I like that. The Mr. Toad's Wild Ride is a super fucking weird ride. Every time
It's
I
so
ride that,
bizarre.
I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, I don't remember.
I remember like when I was a kid, I remember my mom, like, we were pretty poor. So going to places like Disneyland wasn't a regular occurrence, but she did take me to Disneyland one time that I recall. And we went on Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, and it gave me nightmares, and I was screaming and freaking out. I was probably like 15. No, I'm kidding. I was
Yeah.
probably like I don't know, 4 to 7, somewhere in there. And I remember being traumatized. So it's a weird ride.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't start going. I allegedly I went to Disneyland once when I was like 1 years old, but I don't remember it. And then I hadn't gone to Disneyland since I was shit, probably like 30. So that whole time I never went to Disneyland. So I never so like it's all sort of new to me. It's like recent history that I've been going to Disneyland a lot, but I love it. Oh, and the other ride at California Adventure that I really like is the Monsters Inc. ride, just because at the end the lady that like does it, it's like someone like watching you, and they talk about the people like in the rides, and that makes me really happy because they like make fun of like they're like, oh, like that's your husband, you poor thing. Like it makes me that.
But yeah, now I really, really
I
miss
know. That's
Disneyland.
damn it. Thanks, Corey.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I hope. I know it's part of the phased opening here for California, but for the first couple months, it's only going to be open to Orange County residents. So that kind of blows. But we'll see. Just because Orange County is the county where Disneyland is from.
Oh, I would like to throw in one special nod to if somebody can make the pilgrimage and get to Disneyland. I like to cap the night off, depending on the night, but when I can, with a nice cocktail from Trader Sam's. It's a tiki bar hidden behind the the Disneyland Hotel, and
Oh yeah. On downtown Disney, right?
no.
It's
So
in the park.
no, it's at the Disneyland Hotel. So
Oh,
you
okay.
leave the park and walk over to the hotel, which is a 5 minute walk, 10 minute walk,
Uh,
and then you go to the back where the pool is, and next to the pool they have this giant tiki bar, and if you get inside, it's really cool. Every like 20 minutes or so, a hurricane comes through, and like all the tiki paintings on the walls, they change into like a storm painting. The
Huh.
lights start flashing, they sprinkle water out at you, and then the storm blows over and it goes back to normal.
Oh wow! Thanks for taking me there when we went, jerk.
I think I mentioned it and then I got vetoed. No, we left early.
Yeah, everyone left early that time. Yeah,
Yeah.
because somebody got sick. Not going to mention names, but you listen to this podcast.
Yeah, you do. You know who you are.
I'm sorry. I don't care. They were actually legit sick, I think, so it's okay. We'll
Yeah,
give them a
like
pass
something
this
went
time.
horribly wrong that day.
Yeah, because I remember we were supposed to go on Splash Mountain, and we were the only ones that wanted to go on Splash Mountain, and then they got sick all of a sudden, so we couldn't go.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Whatever.
it just means we all have to go again when it's safe and restrictions are lifted.
This is true. We'll definitely make that happen.
Totally.
All right. Well, this has been our really, really long segment of Banter with the Beardsleys, but it's Disney related, so I think we could do an entire podcast on Disneyland.
We probably should. We could do like all the like weird little creepy things about Disney.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to do. There's like the haunted Disney stuff and like things that have, weird shit that's happened, especially with, like the Haunted Mansion ride, all the people spreading ashes and stuff. But yeah, that's another topic episode.
So I hope that answered Corey's question. It was like an hour and a half
Yeah,
Disney venture.
We made a tangent. I think we got our favorite rides and things to do in there somewhere.
Yeah, and if if you're new to the Disney experience, you can use this little segment here as like a roadmap on what you should check out because we love it and we miss it. That's what we loved about it, was doing those particular things. So
Oh yeah, for sure.
yeah, now that that's out of the way, I went Banter with the Beardsleys happened. It is time, sir, for your segment.
All right, let's do this. So, as we talked about, happy November, everybody. We're recording on Sunday, which is November 1st. So, yay. For those of you who are participating in Movember and want to grow a luscious beard like us, let us know if you want any pointers or tips, because I know there's a thing where people don't shave during November.
Yeah, we can make that process a lot easier for you.
I wanted to kind of finish up the traditions surrounding Samhain and Halloween, and that includes the first couple days of November, which we are currently in, which is Dia de los Muertos and All Hallows or All Saints Day. So I'm basically going to be touching on the Day of the Dead, which is Dia de los Muertos, which I will get to in my thing. So that's kind of what I'm going to be focusing on today. I do want to preface this by saying that I actually had a really hard time writing the script today. I've mentioned a few times on the podcast in passing that my brother passed away almost 6 years ago, and as well as some, many other friends and other family members who have passed on in like my life. And this topic kind of brought a lot of that up to the forefront. So I had to take a couple breaks while I was like writing this. I was like, shit, man. So I'm going to do my best not to break while reading this, but if I do break or you hear a couple sniffles, mind your own business. Don't judge me. All right, so on to the story. So Dia de Muertos, or as pronounced in English, in our English-speaking countries, we Anglophile it, and we call it Dia de los Muertos. But in Spanish-speaking countries, it's just Dia de Muertos. It's the annual day for families and loved ones to celebrate the lives of those lost. This is a public holiday in almost every Latin and or Spanish-speaking country in the world, but they celebrate it a little bit differently. I'm going to cover the most common celebrations that the region we are in, kind of the Southern California area. I'm going to cover the common celebrations because that's where we live, and this is where it's been drawn heavily upon the celebrations in Mexico. And then I'm going to touch on how Spain and some of the other Latin American countries celebrate, and they differ in their celebrations. Now, before we get too deep, let's review and go back to last week when we talked about All Saints Day a little bit, and I mentioned how Pope Gregory III adapted the traditions of All Souls Day and added saints to the list to those to be remembered. All Saints Days then became All Hallows, which spawned Halloween. Now, picking up from there, we have All Saints Day being celebrated every year on November 1st to honor the dead. Families would get together and they would remember their family members that have passed, but they mainly use this day to honor saints, holy people in the community, and it was really a religious holiday. The tradition of building altars and the typical things we see today and associate with the Day of the Dead didn't really start until the mid-1930s. Now, for the rest part of my script here, there's going to be a lot of Spanish names and stuff like that. So if I butcher the names, I apologize. I'm not a native speaker. I did take 8 years of Spanish in high school, but I'm still not a native speaker. I still have trouble rolling my R's, so don't make fun of me.
Wait, you took 8 years of Spanish?
Not in high school. 4 years 7 years. 4 years of high school, 3 years in college. I was in, ironically, the native speakers class my last year in college. but it was just because I was good at like the grammar and stuff like that. So yeah, I used to speak almost fluent Spanish, but then I worked in Ojai for about 10 years, which is a very
Anglo centered.
yes, very yeah, very Anglo-Saxon type town. And I just didn't use it. And a foreign language is one of those things that if you don't use it, it's very difficult to bring it. So like my brain forgot a lot of it, but I can converse with customers that come in, so I'm able to kind of talk with people a little bit. So I'm happy about that. But anyway, I'm gonna try my best. So I apologize to all of our friends out there. If you make fun of me, I'll come and hurt you. So in 1934, Mexico elected a fairly liberal president named Lázaro Cárdenas. President Cardenas surrounded himself with pretty well-known Mexican socialists of the time, like Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera. If you don't know who these people are, side note, I very highly suggest giving them a quick Google, because both Kahlo and Rivera, they really revolutionized not only their own country through their art, but also the world. Like they were pretty fascinating people. But being surrounded by these people, President Cardenas really wanted to establish some country pride, and he wanted to kind of change things and change the tone that his country was going in. And he decided to do that by reinventing All Saints Day. He wanted to get away from the heavy Spanish influence that his country had already, and he tried to bring things back to the roots of the country and to their Aztec ancestors. So to do this, he removes the word saint from Dia de Santos and adds the Spanish word for dead to create Dia de Muertos. Historians believe he did this for a couple reasons. One, in 1934, the world was still kind of recovering from World War I and was very quickly spiraling towards its sequel, World War II. And Cardenas figured that if he changed it, Spain's not really going to fight him on it, because they really, most of Europe didn't want to associate with anything that was dead. Um, and he thought this was a way to further separate Mexico from Spain. Mexico just won its independence about 100 years before, so there was still a lot of Spanish influence in the country. So he was really trying to distance themselves from that. And the second reason historians believe that Cardenas changed the name was he really also, because he was very progressive, wanted to separate from the church a little bit. The church had a pretty big grasp on the country. So he wanted to separate that by, we're going to get away from All Saints Day, make it Day of the Dead. So in addition to the name change, President Cardenas wanted to add a touch of history to the celebration by adding ancient Aztec death rituals. Historians disagree about how much the Aztec influence really is, because there's a lot of, most Aztec citizens were cremated back in the day, but there is some evidence of altars and sacrifices being built to honor warriors that have died. The ancient Aztec belief said that when someone died, they had to pass through 7 levels to reach the underworld. This is a pretty perilous journey, so family and friends would make offerings of arrows bound together in groups of 4, along with 4 torches and food left by the family, typically tamales. I put side note, if anyone out there is listening and their families are making tamales for the holidays, I would like to buy a few 100 dozen. Thank you.
Same.
That's like one of my favorite holiday things is tamales. They're so freaking good. Okay, anywho, they would leave these offerings all day, and at nightfall they would burn the offering so that they would reach the person in the underworld. As the tradition grew, so did the celebration. The ceremony grew to a 4-day event where the lovers would, or the loved ones, excuse me, would eat, mourn, and make offerings before burning it all at the end of the 4 days. President Cardenas took the idea of these offerings and the building of altars, and he really kind of expanded upon that. He wanted the people to use the celebration to honor people's lives and make it a really grand event. He encouraged the people to make these altars, and people generally did. They really liked the idea, so they ran with it. The altar of offering, or called ofrendas, would usually contain some of the favorite foods of the deceased loved ones, as well as like photos, any kind of memorabilia, things that reminded them of the individuals. As the ofrendas became more and more elaborate, an ironic turn, as seen by many historians, it started to take shape. Families would bake sweet calaveras, or sugar skulls, and make pan de muerto, which is bread of the dead, which is kind of a alliterative term, along with candied pumpkins, and they made these as offerings to the dead. The irony here is that President Cardenas spent all this time trying to separate from the Spanish influence in the celebration, but before the Spanish occupation of Mexico, there was no sugar. So them using like sweets to bake, like sweet bread and stuff like that was kind of like harkening back to the Spanish influence. So it's kind of unfortunate. Kind of got some egg on his face there. Nonetheless, the creation of the sugar skulls and other sweets really begins to shape what Dia de los Muertos is as we know it today in our part of the world. Along with the sweets, loved ones would still bring their favorite food of the people that have passed, in addition to drinks. In the case of children who passed on, the ofrendas would often include like toys and like little like either toys the kids had, or they would bring new toys for the kids to come spend with. And with adults who passed away, they often added bottles of tequila or mezcal, and they used this to entice the loved ones to come back and share a drink with them. Finally, to complete the ofrendas, loved ones would add flowers, usually the Mexican marigold, and it's often called the flor de muertos, or the flower of the dead, because it's used so frequently in the altars. The bright color, along with the strong smell of the petals, is said to attract the souls of the dead. Typically, families will spend the entire year gathering the necessary items and preparing for the offerings. They would then spend the day before cleaning, preparing the gravesite, and then on the actual day, they would decorate, they would lay out the offerings, and they would spend the day at the grave. Many families will stay the entire day and they'll kind of sit, lay around, eat, and they'll stay well into the night and the next morning. Like I said, eating, drinking, telling stories, like just kind of reminiscing about their loved ones. Many of these celebrations take on a happy tone as family members tell humorous stories, and many people have been known to bring music and start to dance. In some different areas throughout Mexico, it's typical for people to adorn their clothes with shells or little bells or like cymbals so that when they dance, the noise will wake the dead. Again, in many cases, typically where family members cannot all make it to the grave or they've moved from the city where loved ones are buried, they will make ofrendas in their home. These are usually smaller altars than like the ones at the gravesite, but they still contain the flowers, food, drinks, and pictures of their loved ones. Some families create ofrendas in the house, and they also visit the grave if they're in the area. So they'll go, they'll celebrate to the grave, then they'll take some of those flowers, they'll carry them home with them, kind of like a little procession, and the hopes that the souls of the deceased ones will follow them from the grave into the home. There, they will continue the celebration of eating and drinking and telling stories into the wee hours of the night. An interesting note that I saw is that while the loved ones eat and drink, they are also offering the food that they're eating and drinking to their loved ones. Because of this, many believe that the souls eat the quote unquote spiritual essence of the food, and therefore the food contains no nutritional value to the when they eat it. They eat the food as an offering, kind of a way to spend time with their loved ones and share the meal with them like one more time. Another interesting note is that the previously mentioned calaveras, or which means skull in Spanish, they become popularized and colloquially, easy for me to say, used to describe both the edible sugar skulls as well as the face paint in the pictures that are drawn to celebrate Day of the Dead. When I think of this holiday, this is kind of what I typically see in my mind's eye. And I think most people, when they think of like Day of the Dead, they think of the sugar skulls, the face painting, the costumes. That's what people really think of, I think. And this started back in the 17 and 1800s when newspapers and people would put out publications writing humorous and satirical poems related to public figures whom they thought were trying to be like kind of bigger than they were. One famous cartoon is La Calavera Catrina, which depicted a skeleton wearing a large floral hat with two roses in it. The artist, one Jose Guadalupe Posada, said that it depicted what he saw as Mexican natives attempting to adopt the European aristocratic traditions and dress. While Posada intended this to be used in a mocking sense, people fell in love with the image of the skeleton wearing a hat and adopted it as a symbol for Dia de los Muertos. And when President Cardenas started changing the holiday to a big thing, they really adopted the Catrina figure. And that's what's often seen depicted in artwork. It's related to anything Day of the Dead, and it's a popular costume, like I said, that people dress up in. I'll post a picture on the Instagram as well, but it's like, it's a pretty, if you see it, you're gonna be like, oh, I know what that is. It's like a skeleton and it's got a big floral hat on. And it's really kind of the idea of like the skeletons wearing clothes. That's where this main image came from. And so, as with most holidays and celebrations, there's a lot of regional differences depending on where you are. And I'm gonna butcher these town names, so I apologize. In the town of Pascuaro in Michoacan, Mexico, when a child dies on the following 1st November after the child's death, the godparents take on the duties of preparing the altar. They'll set a table in the parents' house with fruits, sweets, pan de muerto, a cross, a rosary, and they light candles. The godparents take on this task to honor the child, but also out of respect for the parents who lost their little one. And when everyone arrives, there's typically dancing. They wear very bright costumes and very colorful dresses to kind of celebrate the children. Then at midnight, the people will take a small candle, they'll light it from the candles on the table, and ride boats out to a nearby island that's on a lake that borders the town. There, they will hold a ceremony to honor and celebrate the lives of all those who have been lost in the town. There's another cool tradition which involves kids, but it's a little more energetic and a little upbeat, so it's kind of a happy tradition. And you may have seen this depending on what you've seen from Day of the Dead. And this is something called La Danza de los Viejitos, or Dance of the Old Men. And it's typically young men or boys who dress up like old men. They wear masks, they wear like ponchos and hats, and they run around like jumping and crouching around, like walking like little like duck walks, and they crouch around. And it's a fun tradition that started as a way back in the old days to ask El Dios Viejo, or the old god, for a good harvest and to commune with spirits and learn about the past, or to predict the future, which sounds an awful lot like what we talked about last week with some of the Samhain traditions, where they're talking to the spirits, they're predicting the future. So it's very similar storylines here. Now, I mentioned in the beginning of this that there are differences between Mexico and pretty much the rest of the world that comes to celebrating with like the Latin American countries, and I want to touch on that briefly. In today's day and age, the way Mexico celebrates has really kind of been adopted by some of the other countries. It's a big popular way, but some of them are slowly starting to move into the Mexican way of doing things, but most of them still celebrate the traditional All Saints Day, and that includes a somber, subdued tone. The families still go to the graves to visit their loved ones, but they often just leave candles or they light up the headstone and then they leave after praying. Um, there is a much larger religious undertone to these celebrations, as it's All Saints Days, and so they do go to church, they attend mass, they pray, and then they go to their family's headstones and then they leave. All Saints Day is also celebrated by almost every single Western religion, and it's a national holiday in many European and Latin American countries. While the Day of the Dead is it's a public holiday, it's a recognized as a cultural holiday, but not everything closes in like the U.S. or like in Mexico. Lastly, those of you who are fans of Disney and Pixar will be familiar with Dia de los Muertos if you, unlike me, have seen the movie Coco. Again, I haven't
Wait,
seen
wait,
it,
wait,
but
wait. You haven't seen Coco?
I have not seen Coco. I know. Everyone I tell that to is like, "How could you not see it?" I just haven't. I know it's a really sad movie, and like everyone
It's
I
not
talk
that
to,
it's sad. It's like it's really touching.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
that's a
like the
fancy word for
sadness
sad.
thing. It's you just go, please. I can't believe you have. How does? Oh, I can't. I just
I
can't.
know.
I quit.
I'm not. I don't think I'm ready. Um, so yeah, I have not seen it. I have had friends like Chris, and other friends that I grew up with who immigrated from Mexico as kids, and they say it's pretty accurate representation of the holiday. I know there's people that say it pulls from the Book of Life, which was I think made by 20th Century Fox, but it's also one of those things where like you're covering a very popular Mexican tradition, like you're gonna have carryover. Um, but yeah, it's very similar, and I will go see Coco soon.
You need to watch it. Just watch it.
And that, my bearded friends, is the story of Dia de los Muertos.
Phenomenal job, man. That was really awesome. It's
Thank you.
Dia de los Muertos is one of my favorite non-traditional holidays here in
Mhm,
America.
mhm,
It's just the culture is so rich, it's so beautiful. And just the respect and love that they give to the departed. It's a
mhm.
really beautiful thing to see because it's about celebrating.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the best part of it, I think, is and having sort of experienced it firsthand with some friends. Like it's like I one of my friends growing up, his grandma had like an altar, the ofrenda in their house, and it's like you said, it's a very positive thing. It's not like, everyone kind of associates death with like this really bad negative thing where it's like it's really sad, it's really terrible, but they kind of spin it and they're like, no, 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 like yes, it is sad. We're sad that we miss them. But they, the tradition, the family, they believe that on this day, like they sit and like the reason they spend all day there is because they believe that their loved one has come back to them, and they sit there and they have their drink and their food, and they celebrate and they dance and they have fun, and they're using it to commemorate the person that has passed away and have um that more, the time with them. And in a way, they're never really gone all the way because you're able to see them or feel them every year.
Yeah, and they'll take out whatever it is that was really important to them, which they touched on in Coco, which was really great.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so if somebody, smoked a particular brand of cigarettes, they'll buy them those cigarettes and place them by their picture, or I don't want to give any spoilers, but if they played an instrument, their instrument would be there. Just things like that, which I think just goes to show that, to quote Celine Dion, my heart will go on, right?
Yeah.
Like that love for that person transcends life. So yeah,
Mhm.
man, a way to make everything sweet. That was like a really good touching topic.
Yeah. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know we had a lot of requests after the Halloween episode. People were asking if we were going to do it, and so I wanted to make sure we touched on it. Especially just, like it's technically we're recording Sunday. Today is November 1st, so today is All Saints Day. All Souls Day is tomorrow. And Dia de los Muertos is today into tomorrow morning. So, there are people right now who are celebrating. Well, I'm not sure how much they're doing because of COVID, but
I mean, families would be
in the
together.
home, yeah, exactly. The families are together. They're spending time, honoring their loved ones, and it's a really special holiday. It's really cool.
Yeah. So awesome job tonight. If somebody wanted to reach out and send us one of their stories, a banter with the Beardsleys topic, or even just say hi, where and how can they do that?
Thank you for giving me time to compose myself. It's gonna be at any of our social medias. So Instagram is at BeardedThingsPod. Facebook is facebook.com/BeardedThings. Twitter is at BeardedThings, and YouTube is at BeardedThingsPod. And we also have a Facebook group now. So you can find us on, it's called the Bearded Things Bearded Friends group. I know it's kind of difficult to find. Apparently, you have to surf through a couple bearded dragon pages. But we're there. If you have trouble, please reach out to us and one of us will invite you to the group. We're having a lot of cool, fun discussions in the group right now. People are talking about different things and posting pictures, and it's been a really fun time. So we also have an email, contact us at beardedthings.com. And any of those ways you can reach out to us, we would love to hear from you. We would love to hear any of your scary, spooky stories. We're going to continue the scary, spooky stories for Campfire Tales every Friday. We're going to keep that rolling. Even though our October Spooktacular extravaganza is over, we want to keep that theme going. So please, please, please continue to send those in.
And I will say for the new Facebook group, I did put a little cheat link into the description of this episode. So just open up the description on your device, click on that, it'll open up for you, and then just request to join. We'll approve you.
Yeah, I think we have like a 30-second approval rate right now. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we're on it.
Lightning quick. Even when you apply it like 3 in the morning, it
We're
gets approved
awake.
somehow. It's crazy. Someone's awake. Yeah, it's happening.
We just sit there staring at our phone in the dark.
Yeah, we just constantly refresh Facebook. Come on, come on, come on, come on.
So, all right. I hope everyone had a happy and safe Halloween. We will talk to you guys next week.
Bye.